Hi, my name is Josue, and I'm going to be answering some questions about Chapter 16 and Chapter 17. So, the first question that I'm going to be answering is explaining the process of family recovery in my own words. So, family recovery is not a linear path. That's something that we should keep in mind. There's a lot of adjustments that the family has to make in order to be able to achieve what is recovery, if there's ever really an achievement part of it. But it's a constant journey, and it's a constant learning and relearning for family members. So within this process, there comes a moment, more than likely in the beginning, where the family has the assumption that whenever the substance abuse is gone, the issues within the family are going to also be gone. More than not, this is far from the truth. Sometimes the substance abuse being removed actually just exposes more of the issues that possibly the family had, with because the reason because of that is because sometimes the substance is used kind of as a coping mechanism, right? So let's say that mom and dad have issues between each other, and dad resorts to drinking to be able to cope with that. Well, now that this substance is gone and he's no longer adhering to this coping mechanism, now he has to find a different way to deal with these emotions. And this might be the first time that the individual is undergoing this. And so it's a different type of system and pattern that the whole family is undergoing. Um, the family might go through steps of monitoring, resentment, and jealousy. Monitoring just refers to how the family members are used to seeing this individual resort to substances whenever they feel stressed or anxious. And now they're hyper vigilant about this individual and are constantly asking and making sure that they're not resorting back to the substance abuse. Or just in general the use of the substance. So this is something that as therapists we're there to kind of help balance and kind of create a healthy level of monitoring, because more than not, the individual struggling with the substance views this as nagging. Resentment because of the abuse, or because of the substance, or because of the individual, because of what the family members feel like was taken from them, or what they were robbed from because of the substance abuse or the substance user. Sorry, due to the substance or due to the substance abuser. All right. Jealousy. So a lot of people who are undergoing a process of recovery are adhering to programs such as AA, which is very intensive. Usually becomes their main support group and accountability group. Family members might feel a sense of abandonment, or as if this family member no longer is spending as much time with them. So it's important as therapists maybe to reiterate the importance of the substance abuser or the family member dealing with the substance abuse to have this support group in order to be able to get better or to continue in this journey of recovery. Um, yeah, so this is just a few of the processes that family members undergo when trying to obtain recovery. Second question is, how might family recovery be enhanced by viewing families through different family types? So there's this thing called domains of experience, which is environment, system, and the individuals within the family. So obviously, not all families are the same, right? Every family has their own set of rules, systems, expectations, coping mechanisms, and kind of looking at these three domains helps us kind of conceptualize and compartmentalize these variances that exist in families. So, looking at family members' environment. Do they belong to a church community? What's the kind of neighborhoods that they belong to? Does that play a role in, neighbors, family, friends, whatever their environment is? This plays a role into how the family will move along in the recovery process. Um, Second domain was the system. What is the system that the family has in place? What is expected? How does everyone work with the substance abuse? Is this something normal? Does every family member want change? What are the coping mechanisms that have just become an integral part of the fabric of the family? All of these things help understand the type of family we're dealing with here. And then as well as the individual, right? Obviously, we are, even within a family, each individual has their own individual psychology and their own way of thinking that shapes and informs the recovery process for family members. Third question I'm going to be answering is how might relapse be viewed in a positive way? And I'm going to explain it in my own words. So, right, no family member who's going into therapy initially wants the relapse to occur, right? They're in therapy because they're wanting to completely do away with this substance abuse, make it no longer part of their life, usually. But relapse can give us a lot of insight, right? This is an opportunity to kind of do check-ins with family members, and even though that the relapse occur, it's a good time to reiterate how much progress the family has made. The amount of growth that they've been able to see in the right direction. And reiterating this can become an encourager for the family to continue this journey and help them understand that this isn't a destination, but right, a journey, as we've been mentioning, that they're going to continuously progress through and learn and create new systems and healthy coping mechanisms to help this family flourish apart from the substance abuse and no longer resorting to that. So the fourth question for chapter 16 is, what are some specific strategies of enhancing family recovery? So some specific ways that we can help the family recovery is reducing risk factors and accessibility to substances, right? So if in the home, family members are used to seeing alcohol, let's remove it from the home so it's no longer as accessible. So reducing that friction, the decision making friction of, oh, should I do it or should I not? Just remove it. This is a good, easy way, practical way to help in family recovery. Also, really focusing on creating an accountability system through dialogue and communication. That the family can start creating a system of non-judgment where whenever the family members does relapse or slip up, other family members aren't resorting to judging or to accusing, but rather to supporting and creating a path forward that is healthy and promotes growth and recovery for the family. So now I'm going to be answering chapter 17 questions. First question I'm going to be answering is to review Simon's 5 philosophical dimensions and determine where you fall in various dialects and explain why. So the 5 different dialects or philosophical dimensions that Simon proposes is the individual and the group. So viewing ourselves as isolated beings or within a group system, freedom from and freedom for. So these philosophical dimensions kind of focus on what are we wanting to get away from and what are we wanting to be able to have freedom in. Or so for example, like I want to have freedom from substance abuse, but I want to be free for being able to spend time with my family, being free to have leisure time without the need of the substance abuse, being able to experience happiness, or what that person deems as happiness or fullness. Good and evil, this is more of an ethical dimension. So what does the individual or the therapist through their philosophical dimension view as good traits, and what they view as bad traits? This is more ethical. It doesn't work for everyone, but it does work for certain individuals. Mind and body, it's mind and body problem is kind of looking at how internal situations or in our internal being is reflected in our external being or our external world and environment. And then there is to be or to become. And this is the one where I personally feel like I fall into. This to be or to become focuses on the moment. That is the to be component. And then also to the future reaching, to who we want to become. And I think that this is very empowering for individuals because you're able to see both things, right? Where do we come from and where are we wanting to head towards? Who do you want to become? And I think that is a very large overarching question that is it possibly requires multiple sessions for clients, but I think it does a lot of help in solving a plethora of conflicts that the client might have, really having a grounding and an understanding of who they are, who they were, and who they're wanting to become. I think this is very helpful. So the second question I'm going to be answering is, where is the line when it involves self-disclosure and why is it there? Okay, so I think self-disclosure is very tricky within therapy, because optimally, a lot of people will say, try to not self-disclose at all. It's not about you, it's about the client. But just that phrase in it of itself, it means a lot, right? Because maybe what is helpful for the client is for you to do some level of healthy self-disclosure. Okay, so I think what we should be asking ourselves as therapists is, does my self-disclosure benefit the client? Is it going to help them towards their growth? And I think, for a therapist who are dealing with substance abuse, I think in certain instances it can help the client, having an understanding that maybe you've had your own personal struggles with, substance abuse, and you've been able to overcome. It provides hope for the, client, that they also can, do the work necessary, change their systems, their environments, and be able to, reach that recovery that they're seeking. Where it might not be helpful is if you, as a therapist, haven't had experiences with substance abuse. Like myself, I haven't personally dealt with substance abuse. For certain clients, this might, in their mind, discredit you as their therapist. They might not want to continue, working with you. Other clients, even if you haven't dealt with substance abuse, you might be able to explain how, hey, I haven't dealt with substance abuse, but I know what it is to try to let go of patterns and habits that, do not serve me, and I know how difficult that is, and I've been able to achieve that. And so that can provide, some support for the client. I think at the end of the day, therapists should, do a good job at understanding first the client before they enter into self disclosure. The fourth question I'm going to be answering, and the last one is, what are the what are the two oh, I'm sorry. Third question, sorry. In my own words, I'm going to explain why it is important to focus on the self of the therapist, especially in addictions counseling. So I think, to be able to find a place of empathy for the client is the primary goal of wanting um, to doing internal work, right? I think it's the job of the therapist to really sit with themselves and really understand themselves, the struggles that they've had, to be able to come into the therapy, session with a place of empathy, um, So most of the time, these clients that are coming in because of addiction have this self-accusatory narrative in their head, or in their mind, I should say. And I think being able to come in and, relate to struggle, maybe not the same struggle, but struggle in general, dealing with certain, challenges in life, that you've been able to identify in your own life by sitting with yourself, meditating, thinking, and working through them, helps you present that to the client in a way that encourages them. Um, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest challenge or the biggest benefits of doing, um, self-understanding. Fourth question that I'm going to be answering is, what are the two pros and the two cons of having an experience that is closely related to the client's experience? I think some of the pros is being able to really understand how challenging whatever they're going through is for the client. You've been through it, you know what that looks like. And so you're able to understand, which is, I think, our primary goal as therapists and with our clients is to have an understanding. Um, it also allows to it also allows the space for providing a more authentic, I think, form of empathy, right? You've been through it, so you know how to empathize with that client. And the faster you're able to get to this place of empathy for the client, I think the better the therapeutic alliance is. And the overarching goal, achievement of the goal is whatever that goal is for the client, the quicker you're able to achieve it for the client. Some cons though, allowing your personal bias to overinform the therapeutic treatment. This is, something that we have to be wary of if we feel too identified with the client, is that we're over informing the way we're treating, or the way we're dealing with the client, through our own experiences. And we have to understand, as we've spoken about before, clients come from their own environments, they come from their own individual psychology, their own systems. And even though the issue might be similar, the way that they understand what they're going through might be completely different, and the approach, might not be the same. Also, kind of around the same line is assuming that what works for us will work for them. This isn't always the case. Even though we might identify ourselves or relate to the issue of the client, um, what works for us will not always work for the client, and so we shouldn't be stuck on or only rely on what works for us to help clients. And so yeah, these are these questions for chapter 16 and chapter 17. It's been a pleasure having all of you guys in class. So I hope that you guys have a very restful and enjoyable summer, and thank you for watching my video.